Nomi Const. We are here in Washington, D.C. right now, where there's an unofficial DNC chair forum that is about to take place at the Democratic Women's Club. It is where the candidates are going to discuss issues that affect women, most likely, possibly some other issues that are taking place in the race. Of course, we are down to the wire. There are no more official DNC forums, and this is the final unofficial DNC forum where all the chair candidates are coming together to talk about their positions, really to give their last pitch to DNC members. The DNC members are going to be located in the front here, and in the back you have an audience. There's a little bit of media here as well, but this is really important because in these past few days you've seen the gloves taken off. People are getting a little bit more vocal about their positions. There have been some reports of the count when it comes to DNC members, and there's been a lot of questioning over that count. There's also some backroom deals possibly being made between members and DNC chair candidates, other DNC chair candidates that may not have enough votes to get to the 225 that might be working with one of the front runners of the race. We're going to hear some really interesting ideas, I have no doubt. Every single forum we've been to, it's just the bar has been raised when it comes to ideas for the Democratic Party. But again, the vote is next week in Atlanta, so I undoubtedly have, it's undoubtable that there's going to be a real hearty debate over these issues. All right, so we'll come back after the show, talk about what was discussed, if there's anything big, anything bold, if there was any controversial news that came out. We'll be doing the wrap-up after the show. Thanks, guys.
Good evening. My name is Nuchi Courier. I'm the president of the Women's National Democratic Club, and a very warm welcome to everyone in this room and everyone in this house. We have every space in this house chock-a-block full. We have screens all over the place. Just shows what an important event this is, how everybody wants to meet the candidates, because we're all rooting for each one of you. Welcome to the Women's National Democratic Club's DNC Chair Candidate Forum. And last but not least, Mr. Perez is walking up. We are a 95-year-old progressive institution. The WNDC has been on the cutting edge of recent initiatives related to the Democratic Party. We were the DC headquarters of the Clinton campaign, housing the DNC organizers on our third floor post-convention, and subsequently became the Washington hub of the Women's March. The success of the hastily organized Women March was inspirational. 1.2 million women and some male feminists rallied and marched in Washington, D.C. alone. 3.3 million in the United States, over 5 million globally. This march made history and enters the Guinness Book of World Records, and that's the truth. This remarkable surge of energy on the left in response to Donald Trump's election needs to be harnessed. We strongly believe that. Senators' phones have been jammed with calls protesting Trump's cabinet nominees. Protests opposing right-wing policy positions are erupting across the nation, and town hall meetings across Red America are being disruptive widely. And we've all seen footage of that. According to a Washington Post poll, more than 1 in 3 Democrats say they plan to become more involved in the political process in the next year as a result of this election. That's true. That's true of 40% of Democratic women, and you see a lot of them in this room. And almost half of self-identified liberal Democrats. So everybody is raring to go. We feel that movements are everyday acts of resistance. They need to be for something, not just against something. So we have a final contestant here, Mr. The Women's National Democratic Club was created by suffragists 95 years ago. And 95 years later, we seem to have the same fight on our hands. Oh, we're ready for it. The march proved that. So join us as we put up a wall of resistance to the wrecking ball that Mr. Trump is swinging already. We want everybody in this room before they leave to become members if you're not members. Male and female both. What was the march about? It was for peace, equality, and justice. It is a social movement for social progress. We need to stay proactive about women's rights. We are inspired and we want to inspire, channeling our energy for the next day and the long haul. And one thing I want to say, I'm going to completely move off script. We are seeing this movement largely amongst young women. That's because they've not had to fight for their rights. It's their mothers and grandmothers who did all the work. It's the first time that they are feeling threatened, and we have had such a surge of new members coming in, virtually 50 every month. And we want to keep that up, and we are organizing now to keep all of you engaged. The election coming up in 2017, the election coming up in 2018, we are already organizing for all of those. I'm now going to quote one of our grandmothers of this historic institution, Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You're able to say to yourself, I have lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the thing you think you cannot do." And that is what we have to do moving forward. In that same spirit, I welcome the courageous candidates for chair of the Democratic National Committee tonight. And I'm going to just take their names from my right to the left. Please welcome Sally Boynton Brown of Idaho. Raymond Buckley from New Hampshire. Pete Buttigieg from Indiana. I said this right, I think. Representative Keith Ellison from Minnesota. Jamal Green from Texas. Jamie Harrison from South Carolina. Secretary Tom Perez from Maryland. Peter Pekarski from Wisconsin. Sam Ronan from Ohio. And Robert Vincent Brannan from Washington, D.C. So I'm quickly going to say a few words about the format today. Each of our two moderators, and I'm going to introduce them in a moment, will introduce a candidate, invite them to speak for exactly 2 minutes, ask a question, and the candidate will have exactly 2 minutes to respond. At the end of the show, when we're all done, we will give each candidate 1 minute for a closing statement. It is my pleasure now to introduce Stephanie Rue. Stephanie, would you come up? An anchor at MSNBC. She previously served as anchor and managing editor for Bloomberg Television and editor at large for Bloomberg News. Rule plays an active role in women's leadership development, having founded the corporate investment bank Women's Network and co-chaired Women on Wall Street. She's a member of the board of trustees for Girls Inc., New York, an organization that provides life-changing programs inspiring girls to be strong, smart, and bold. She has formerly served on the corporate councils of iMentor and the White House Project, a non-profit organization that works to advance women in business, government, and media. And now I'm going to introduce Council Member Jack Evans, but please don't get up because you're going to come and take my spot. He's a great supporter of the Women's National Democratic Club and serves as our ward leader. He was first elected to the Council of the District of Columbia from Ward 2 in a 1991 special election and re-elected in, keep counting, 92, 96, 2000, 2004, and 2008. And 2012, how could I forget that? And 16. Okay. So your bio on your website you have to change because it stops at 8. As the Ward 2 Council member, Jack represents 11 distinct neighborhoods, including the White House and the Mall. And this is for the benefit of those people who come from out of town who don't know our city that well. He serves as chair of the Committee on Finance and Revenue and the Judiciary and Transportation and the Environment Committees. Additionally, he serves as the district's primary director on the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority Board of Directors. His work in DC politics is worth listening to. From 1988 to 1991, he served as treasurer of the DC Democratic Party, 92, 96, and 2000. He was with the Democratic National Conventions. 92 and 96, he served as Bill Clinton's DC co-chair, 2004 as Howard Dean's DC co-chair, and 2008 as Hillary Clinton's DC co-chair. Please welcome the inimitable Jack Evans.
All right, Nucci, I'm going to take it. Thank you so much for having me. Nucci, thank you again. My name is Stephanie Rule. It is amazing to see so many people here so passionate about their country, who care so much. And while I am not a member of the Women's National Democratic Club, I do care about this country. And as much as I care about this country, I care about my mother-in-law who invited me to do this tonight, Judy Hubbard. So Judy, thank you. Judy, thank you for inviting me. And a quick this is a crowded house up here, so I appreciate everyone being here. And for me, just a quick piece of housekeeping in this very tense news environment. I just want to qualify my questions tonight were written by me. No one in the audience, no one in the organization, and no one up here on this dais has seen these questions. So there we have it. Now we're going to get to the meat of the evening, and I'm going to introduce the woman of the state of potatoes, Sally, your opening remarks.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for putting on this amazing event. As we've been watching events come up, I have been waiting for the women's event. So I am thrilled to be here. I am from Idaho and am the president of the National Association of Executive Directors. And as I was watching some of my fine colleagues put their names in the ring, there was one thing noticeably missing, and that was a woman. And I started looking for women to run, because that's what we generally do as women, and I couldn't find anybody. And then I had to remember the advice I've given so many women, especially young women, which is if you have the vision and you have the passion, put yourself out there and just run. And so that's what I did, and was very excited to do so. You can read more about what I'd like to do for the DNC at wethednc.org, which is my website. I have an 11-page plan full of details about how to do that. But I want to talk about women because that's why we're here. I woke up on election morning and promised myself that anybody who came to me who was under the age of 35, I would help them with resources and support to figure out how to get whatever their idea was. No judgment, no telling them, oh, we don't do it that way, or it's not done that way, or it's never been done that way, just doing it. And I had two young women, high school women, approach me just 2 hours after I made that promise to myself. So thank you, Lord, for providing that. They wanted to start an organization called People for Unity, and we met a few hours later and gave them what they needed to go. And they had 5,000 people for the Women's March in Boise, Idaho, just a few short weeks later. So I also started an organization it was actually my first leadership position at the national level called LEAD. And it was a discussion group, really, to talk about the sexism that women experience in politics. Because as Democrats, we're not perfect. And while we do our best to live our values, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is we all, as women, experience sexism. And LEAD has been a very great place for us to come together as staff to have that conversation. And please visit my website for the rest.
Thank you. All right. And it's Jack now.
Do you have a question? Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Double. This is a learning period coming off of this election for so many people. Hillary Clinton lost the white women vote by 10 points. For you, what did you learn from that? And how can you help this organization to lead and include all types of women, to have the Democratic Party truly embrace and honor all voters, specifically women? When you look at that group somehow feeling left out at a time of inclusion, has so many people scratching their heads.
I think that it's really important that we actually do something a little opposite of what you described, which is instead of siloing off our communication, we actually need to have an overarching positive brand as a Democratic Party. We don't have the umbrella message that's values-driven, that's emotionally based, that we can tell stories around, that we can all stand under. And so when we are missing that, we are always going to be missing a portion of the population. And in this case, white women who worry about their pocketbooks and their families and how they're going to feed their children and get clothes and keep a roof over their head, were left out of that. That message must have an economic plan attached to it. We have lots of economic plans. What we fail to do is articulate how we're actually providing those services to our communities already. And so that's the next thing that we need to do. As a community, we need to come together and we need to tell the stories of all of the amazing Democratic leaders, not just elected leaders, county chairs, precinct captains, volunteers who man the soup kitchens and the community gardens and all of the great things that uplift our communities. We need to tell those stories and get much better at it.
Well, first of all, good evening, Democrats. And welcome to Ward 2. That's the ward I represent on the council. That's where we are today. Just before I go to Mr. Buckley, though, let me actually offer a couple of thanks. First, Nucci and the Women's Democratic Club, give the National Democratic Club give a big round of applause. Thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize my chairman of the local Washington, D.C. Democratic Party, and that's Anita Bonds. Anita, thank you for being out here today. Good to have you. And you know, this is a defined election. There's 447 individuals who actually get to vote in this. Are there any people in the room who do get to vote? And I know there's a couple here. Here we go. So for the candidates, that's your audience. And I want to say to the candidates, first of all, thank you all for running. In my first election back in 1991, I had 15 opponents. So I know what it's like to sit on a stage full of other candidates and hoping that at some point I'll get something to say. So great for you all to be here. I always am very, very respectful and thankful for people who put themselves out there and take a chance in running for anything. So thank you all for doing that today. And finally, we all know the election is on February 25th, coming up 10 days from now, and there could not be more at stake for the Democratic Party. Just to outline this, and this will feed into the questions that both Stephanie and I have. Right now, the Senate's controlled by the Republicans. They have 52 senators. We have 46 plus 2. So what's up? 33 Senate seats, of which 25 are Democrats in 2018. We need to win 3 seats and not lose any. That's our goal. On the House side, as you know, Republicans got 243, we have 192. We need to win 26 House seats and not lose any. And the governors, which is so important for everyone, so you realize this, what happens in 18 determines who draws the line in 20. Okay? They control 33 Republicans. Governors, we only have 16. And in the state legislatures, they have 32 states have both legislatures in the Republican column. We have a daunting task ahead of us. And so the theme of the questions as we go forward is, whoever is the chair of this party, what are you going to do to win us 3 Senate seats, 26 House seats, 9 governors, and 7 state legislatures? So we are back in charge. What are you going to do to make that happen? So Mr. Raymond Buckley of New Hampshire. Mr. Buckley has served as chairman of the New Hampshire Democratic Party since 2007, and he also currently serves as president of the Association of State Democratic Chairs and as vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. From 1986 to 2004, he served as a member of the New Hampshire House of Representatives. So, Mr. Buckley, you have 2 minutes. How would you, as chairman, engage, embrace, and support state parties in the grassroots, the working men and women of this country? And how do you plan to mobilize the grassroots, labor support, and others to improve our base and win those seats back? Oh yes, I'm sorry. I got so excited.
You know, it's women who pay attention.
That was my line. That was my line. All right, Mr. Buckley, you got 2 minutes.
Thank you for that great introduction. I do want to note, just for the record, the first potato grown in America was grown in New Hampshire. I have a lot to say, but only 2 minutes to say it. So what I'm going to do is point to this. And before you leave, I hope that you take one of the, it really details all of my plans for reforming the nominating process. We're opening up the DNC and creating transparency. We're strengthening our state parties and our grassroots, and for winning elections. And I think this might just be the place to do a little bragging. So in 2016, when we were really struggling across the country, in New Hampshire, we elected an entirely woman congressional delegation. The only swing state to defeat a Republican U.S. Senator had to be another woman, but, you know, we had to have room for Maggie. So, Jean Shaheen, Maggie Hassan, Carol Shea-Porter, and Annie Custer represent us in Washington. While I've been chair, we've had not only a Senate majority of women in our state Senate, but the Senate President, the Senate President Pro Tem, the Majority Leader, and Majority Whip were all women. And the Speaker of the House, the Deputy Speaker of the House, Majority Leader, and Whip were all women. So if you want to see more women elected to office, you vote for Ray Buckley for DNC chair. I just want to say that I think that this is an amazing opportunity to have all of the candidates here tonight. And I'm so glad this is really the last forum that we're all at. I think it's very appropriate that we're here in this facility where I've been before for various functions over the years. And I just want to thank you all for hosting us. Thank you.
Now the question.
So, Mr. Buckley, the question. Would you like me to repeat it?
I think what you asked was, what am I going to do for state parties?
What are you going to do to win us back all that stuff?
The reality is, and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but if we had continued the SPP program or the 50-state strategy, the same level that Howard Dean had, where it was about $250,000 a year. Now, immediately after 2009, all of the state chairs were told, well, we're ending it completely. We're ending it completely. And that OFA is going to be the ground operation. So we fought like cats and dogs, and we got a pittance. And we're told to be happy that we're getting anything. And we started losing. We lost in 2010. We lost in 2012. We lost in 2014. We lost in 2016. And now, look what we have. It was proven. We won in 2006. We won in 2008. You don't invest in the state parties, you're not going to win. And I can prove it because in New Hampshire, in New Hampshire, while we were not getting all that funding from the DNC, I had great women like then Governor Maggie Hassan and Senator Jean Shaheen who cared about the Democratic Party, so we just raised it. And so when we were told by the presidential campaign that you could only have 7 regional offices in the state of New Hampshire, we went out and raised the money to have 28. When they said that you can only have 7, we went out and hired more people. We took it upon ourselves. And while we were a purple state where they threw everything at us, Maggie Hassan won by 1,000 votes that Senate race, and Hillary Clinton carried the state of New Hampshire by only 2,000 votes. It was that close, and it was the ground operation that makes a difference. We can prove it from what we did in 2014, and if you get a chance, I know that they're passing out these little flyers that show you what we did in increasing voter turnout in 2014 and 2016, as opposed to what happened everywhere else in the country. Thank you.
Pete Buttigieg from the great city of South Bend, Indiana, and Mayor Pete, it's worked out so well for you that if you do get this gig, you're definitely going to have to change your last name. Too much. The big state, too much. So Pete, you have 2 minutes to tell us your story.
Well, thank you. And my story, actually, I'm the son of an immigrant. I'm very proud of my heritage. So it's an inconvenient name, but I'm sticking with it. Back home, they just call me Mayor Pete. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. I want to thank this club for its great work. The day after the inauguration, there was one candidate for chair of the DNC who was at the Women's March. I was that candidate. And, did you? Okay. You weren't a candidate back then, though, were you? Were you a candidate back then? Okay. Anyway, the reason that was such an important moment wasn't just the scale and the scope of it, not just the intensity of it, the response and what it said about who we are and that we're going to draw a red line. It was the character of it. It was the tone of it. It was that we showed that the way we resist and the way we oppose is to support one another. You should have seen it, even in South Bend, Indiana, even in Mike Pence's Indiana. We had 3,000 to 4,000 people for the Women's March. And it was the kind of thing you wanted to be part of. You could feel it. This, I believe, is the season for happy warriors. And at a moment when our party is really on the back foot, even had we won the White House, our party would be on the back foot if you look at where we are in those offices that we just mentioned a moment ago. We've got to do something different. This race is a test of whether the DNC is prepared to change. I believe I represent that change. I represent that fresh start. I represent a new generation of leadership, someone not put forward by any faction from within the party, but simply somebody who wants to serve and guide our party toward a strategy that thinks not only about all 50 plus states, but the next 50 years. Organizing not one cycle at a time, but according to a long-term plan. Finally beating Republicans who have patiently and cleverly established majorities at every level in every state, beating them at their own game. I think I'm the candidate to do that, not the candidate of the status quo, and I would be honored to earn your support.
Let's continue to talk about that march, because the march was extraordinary. What it did to all of us, the inspiration, how we felt about it. Nucci's point earlier, it will be noted in the Guinness Book of World Records. How do you take that moment, this feeling, this passion, and turn it into a real movement that will actually move the needle? We're not going to see another important election for another 20 months. How do you take that voice? And I'm guessing many of those millions of people who were there didn't vote for Donald Trump. How do you mobilize that moment, turn it into a movement, and broaden that base to get more people to get engaged and vote?
Thank you. It's an exceptionally important question, maybe the question for the Democratic Party in our time.
Why you gotta kill Jack?
I'm sure if you were questioning me, it would be a terrific question as well. Look, it starts with a certain level of humility. We've got to recognize that the Democratic Party has to take its position among the broader landscape of progressive organizations, not the other way around. It's not about cramming it all into the party and having it all be directed from Washington or organized by politicians. The important thing is that our partnership with these different groups and movements that are happening organically be authentic. That we're really there to help them, so it doesn't ring hollow a few weeks before the election when we say they ought to be there to help us. And if we're engaging now, if we're present at the Women's March and the airport protest, it's not such a long walk to say next time we do it, let's have it be at one of those congressional town halls or on the doorstep of the office of one of those Republican members of Congress who has to be held accountable for whether they're going to follow their unpopular and unhinged president off the cliff. And if we've done that together, then it's not such a long walk to say, okay, now the election's coming up. We need you to be with us on this one. I believe it's an authentic relationship. Just like more broadly, the party's got to form authentic relationships everywhere. It's not going to be run out of Washington. I know we're sitting in Washington, and I admire everybody who is here who does good work in Washington. But the solutions our party needs are going to come from throughout our country, from every one of our states and communities and territories. The solutions we need are among us. And that's why also when it comes to the state parties, it's not enough simply to promise a bigger check. We got to come up with that. But we've also got to have an authentic relationship, one that fashions a plan on a new program for moving forward. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. We have learned that lesson, and it is time to reimagine what it means to be a political party in the post-2016 era.
Next, we have Congressman Keith Ellison of Minnesota. My wife and her whole family are from Minneapolis, and they all vote for you. Congressman Ellison has represented Minneapolis and the surrounding suburbs in Congress since 2007. He serves as co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus and sits on the House Financial Services Committee and the House Democratic Steering Committee. Congressman Ellison, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, and it's so good to be at the Women's National Democratic Club. Thanks for having us all here. Thanks for holding this event. You know, there are women all across this country working in the farms, the factories, working in the offices, opening businesses, doing all they can do to put food on the table and take care of themselves and their families. And they need a party that is willing to fight for them every single day to make sure that they have a chance at real prosperity. Now, some of these women are women of color. Some of them are lesbians. Some of them are bisexual. Some of them are trans. They come from all walks of life. Some of them are rural. Some of them are urban. But all of them deserve a shot at the American dream. And the Democratic Party should be the party that relentlessly fights to make sure that they can have that dream. Now, the fact of the matter is that when Democrats lose elections, bad things happen to good people. We just saw, and skip Trump for a moment. Just look at Ohio. Kasich is over here passing laws to take away a woman's right to choose. Think about women fighting for reproductive health, reproductive choice. Think about women who really need hide to get gotten rid of because they need to be able to plan their families and make their own choices about their lives. The fact is the Democratic Party is that party that will stand up for them and fight for them. That's why I'm running for chair of the DNC, because I believe that we have got to take it all back. And what I mean by that is that we have got to win at the city level, the state level, the county level, and the national level. We've got to campaign in 51 states. I'm including D.C. in that. We're going to all the territories and Democrats abroad. And we've got to campaign all the time, not just in the election year. And we've got to engage everywhere. And so that's why I'm running. That's who I am. Thank you very much.
Congressman Ellison, the headline in the Washington Post yesterday describing the debates that have gone on between all of you over the last couple of weeks. In the battle for the top spot at the DNC, contenders may be missing a key lesson of 2016. None of the candidates wanted to argue that Democrats have lurched too far to the left to compete. So, Congressman Ellison, over the last 8 years, more than 1,000 elected Democrats have lost their seats in state legislatures. We've lost governorships. We've lost control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. What message do you have for the country? Have we gone too far to the left? If not, what are we going to do to win back what we've lost?
We have not gone too far to the left. But look, friends, the real truth is that we've got to go down. We've got to connect to the grassroots. We got to listen to our people who are telling us what they want. Why is it in Arizona that we can get rid of that Arpaio character, Sheriff Arpaio? He got sent back in, and yet we can win with the minimum wage, which actually won, but not win the state. We have got to engage at the grassroots level and win the trust of the voter. And that means we got to stand up for what they stand up for. That means we got to fight for what they fight for. Take, for example, Black Lives Matter. They actually have a legislative program that they're fighting for. What if we, as Democrats, said, what is your program? Where does it match up with our platform? How can we fight together? And that means 350.org. That means the fight for 15. That means Good Jobs Nation. All these groups out there working as hard as they can to make a better America. The Democratic Party needs to be shoulder to shoulder with them by listening to them. Now, we also got to build that pipeline, y'all. We got to recruit and train people to run for office so we can have them take those seats that we really need them to run. There should not be one seat in America where a Republican is running uncontested. We got to fight them everywhere. And I'm telling you, I've been raising voter turnout in my district and training young and not so young people to run for office. I can tell you we have turned up turnout in the 5th Congressional District so that there are no statewide Republicans at all, not a governor, nobody, and that helps us win. So the point is, it's not really an ideological thing. The ideology needs to be everybody counts, everybody matters. That means every voter everywhere. And that means women voters, we need to fight and help women run for office and get them elected.
All right. General Green, please, she comes from the great state of Texas. She represents blue. But Ms. Green, please tell us who you are.
Thank you to the Women's National Democratic Club. Thank you for putting together a conversation for all of the candidates up here to talk about women and the role we play in the Democratic National Committee and the Democratic Party as a whole. Thank you for having that banner on the outside of this building, continuing to celebrate making history with Hillary Clinton. Because I think too often in this race, in the forums we've been having, in how the media has covered this dialogue, we have not allowed women to celebrate that we made history. We have not allowed young women to celebrate what this past election meant to them in so many ways. What is unfortunate, though, is that we need one event that is focused on women. We should be talking about women and the role they play within our party in every conversation, because women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. So, who am I? I am the daughter of undocumented immigrants who was born in the same year that Shirley Chisholm took her historic candidacy to the floor of the Democratic National Convention. I run for Shirley. I run for Barbara Jordan. I run for the young women who organized the march. And I think there was a comment earlier that they are not having to fight for their rights because their mothers and their grandmothers did that. I have to say that is not right. Because they are fighting for their rights. They are fighting for Black Lives Matter. They are fighting for criminal justice reform. They are fighting for economic justice. And the intersectionality of what that movement and the diversity of the leadership that drove the Women's March is what needs to be reflected within our own party. And we've got work to do, ladies. And we've got work to do, men. Because women are leading the resistance. So that is why I'm running. I also run for the woman I met today at H&M, Misha Clark, who ran for a congressional seat last cycle. And I bumped into her, and she said, thank you for entering this race and reflecting my role in this party and this effort. And so I'm running not just because we need to rebuild, rebrand, and re-engage as a party, but because we need to make sure that the role that women play, not just in our party, but as the backbone of our democracy, is reflected. Thank you.
A key factor in fueling and amplifying the fight is funding. In this last election, the DNC outraised and outspent the RNC, and though she did break extraordinary barriers to win the election. If you win this post and you're elected to chair the DNC, what argument will you make when you go back to Democratic donors to raise money again in 2018 and 2020? How are you going to do that?
I think we have to transform our donor participation within the Democratic Party. And I encourage everyone here to go to my website, tomovefordnc.org, where I talk about specifically how to do that. But it does start with recognizing that we need to move from a majority of the funds coming in to support our party coming from major donors, and we have to transform it to grassroots fundraising. As the Director of Women's Outreach at the DNC, I was brought into the Women's Leadership Forum to run a grassroots fundraising program, getting women to give $125 so that they can start entering this process. Grassroots fundraising is a part of it. We also have to allow donors to see the impact of their investments and to actually direct their investments to millennial engagement, to innovation, to very specific projects and communities that they want to see reflected in our work. We also have to revamp our digital fundraising because the stop what you're doing, the sky is falling emails are hurting us as a party. They are killing us. And so to convince donors, both from the smallest amount to the largest amount, that this is a party to invest in, we have to tell the story of Democrats in a much more compelling, authentic, and engaging way. As someone who has done that through strategic communications, this is one of the reasons I say that in this unprecedented political moment we are living in, we cannot do business as usual. We cannot do politics as usual. We need a strategist. We need an innovator. We need an organizer. And we need a fierce messenger to rebuild, to rebrand, and to re-engage. We do not need another politician. This is a transformative moment in the party, and we need someone who actually can transform from both understanding the DNC from the inside and the out. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Jamie Harrison of South Carolina. Mr. Harrison has served as the chairman of the South Carolina Democratic Party since 2013. Before his current role, he served as Director of Floor Operations and Counsel for House Majority Whip Congressman James Clyburn and as Executive Director of the House Democratic Caucus. Mr. Harrison, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me here today. So you heard I'm the chairman of the South Carolina Democratic Party, first African American and youngest person to hold this position. But that's not who I am. I am the son or the grandson of a woman who in 8th grade had to drop out of school to take care of her family, dragging bags of cotton through the hot, searing sun of South Carolina. Who am I? I'm the son of a 16-year-old mom who had to drop out of high school in order to have and take care of me. Who am I? These women are my life. They are my heart. The reason why I'm here is because of them. You know, as we start to have this conversation about this party used to be a community organization that helped to take care of people when they ran into trouble. We have to get back to that. We have to transform ourselves from this political organization that only begs for votes every 2 and 4 years, go to black churches 2 months before the election, and become once again a community organization that is helping people address the issues that are actually impacting their lives. So what do we need in order to do that? I think people are confused about what this job of chair is. As chair, you are building a party, and everything else derives from that. The organizing, the discussions, the talking. We have to make sure that the person that is given the keys of this great, great party will build the organization to make sure that more women get elected, to make sure that little boys and little girls like me get the opportunity to live the American dream. That is what I bring to this position. That is why I believe I should be chair.
Mr. Harrison, my question is going to focus on women, because we are at the Women's Democratic Club. And I'll tell a little story to preface it. I had the honor of accompanying our mayor, who was treated as a governor, to a governor's conference very recently. And I said to the mayor, how many governors are women? Two. Two governors. And you know what the other 48 are? White men. There's no African American governor, right? Two women, 48 white men. In the Senate, in the House, in our state legislatures, women are enormously underrepresented. Everywhere, everywhere, even down to the city council levels. I am the father of triplets. Two of my children are daughters, who are 20 years old. What is their future? How does this work? So my question is, as DNC chair, what specifically will you do to help elect more Democratic women to office?
Good evening, everybody.